Hey everyone, welcome to Pickleball and Beyond. My name's Ryan.
My name is Vino.
And today we are looking at the bread and butter Invader. So bread and butter is always coming up with really fun paddles, and boy have they invaded us with something super creative. I mean, look at this thing, right? It's kind of like Scooby-Doo colors, right? It's like purple and green. I mean, just an awesome paddle though. Let's hear some of your initial thoughts on it.
I mean, you took my thunder already. I mean, I don't think I need to add anything else. Super awesome paddle. It's a fun paddle.
Yeah.
And I think bread and butter always has had this fun take to pickleball.
Yeah. Super fun marketing.
From the very start, right? We started with the drip and the spear. Even those paddles.
Yeah.
Like, you know, those were like aimed at entry level, like fun paddles. Always creative.
Yep.
So even as technology has moved, you know, they had the titanium paddle, they had the Loco, the Fat Boy. You know, they've kept up with the times, but still kept it fun.
Yes.
And that being said, they haven't skipped off on the quality of the paddle.
Nope.
Premium quality,
And
right?
it comes
The
with an
edge
awesome
guard,
grip.
the grip.
I told them from day one, I love the grips bread and butter gives on every paddle, even
just
their beginner.
on stock.
Yep.
I mean, you don't have to do anything. This is just, I would say,
it's well balanced out of the
yes,
box too.
Yes.
I love that.
Just to mention, the shape, we'll put specs and everything like that. It is very similar to their Loco paddles.
Yes.
The Loco paddles, it says it's sold out, but you know, I don't think they're going to continue with this. This is basically the replacement because it's just an upgrade of that. So how would you categorize this paddle?
I think this still plays into that all-around category. I was leaning slightly towards the control side, but again, I think with this shape, it kind of plays to it, right? It's a pretty all-around paddle shape.
And through this review, we'll kind of compare it with their, you know, pro line of paddles.
Yep.
Out of their paddles, and sorry, we missed doing a review on this. This was a real control paddle.
Yes,
very maneuverable.
Yes.
I mean, compared with their Filth, their Shogun,
Yep.
you know, which were like the Filth is like still one of the hardest hitting paddles
Yep.
with a very high swing weight.
Yes.
Right. The swing weight was like 113. This is like 116.
Yep.
So these are now moving to that maneuverable category.
Yep.
Where this gave a lot of like control to like
Yes,
their
and
series.
we would consider the Loco to be a control paddle.
Yes,
Even.
yes.
It's even softer than the Invader,
But
not to jump
the
the gun.
power on this
Yeah.
was surprising. And like if you go like look at their specs and stuff like that, I mean we concentrate more on the playability, but it's supposed to have a layer of fiberglass. And we know fiberglass is like that more poppier, pushy paddle. And what we felt was, yes, that had that extra power. And this is one of those paddles that we were able to test with our friends. We played together. Was one of the people that tested Juice. He actually plays with bread and butter, and that was that same characteristic. He loved that because it had that power. So let's go into our stations.
Yep.
Let's talk about control, dinking, kitchen. How did you feel this paddle played compared to the rest of the line?
So for me, the control was actually the highlight of this paddle, right? Again, we touched on it briefly. The Loco was a hair softer at the net, and if you want to hit those resets, but this was very, very, very close. Some people might not even notice much of a difference, but I thought at the kitchen line was my favorite, and I love that I always talk about hitting backspin on my dinks. This was killer and consistent at that, right? Just super soft there. And then hitting third shot drops, again, just money. I think that's really where this paddle shined, was that control aspect.
Let's talk a little bit about the surface, because this is very much like that Shogun, J2 Ti, that kind of, it has the carbon fiber, and it has this titanium, you have different names that you call it, different kind of surface. So it does have that gritty feel to it. But I also feel all of them are soft enough that it's dwelling just a little bit more. And going to what you said, like it's being more consistent on that return of spin.
And it had lots of dwell, but I will say, just to compare their whole lineup, if you're looking for the most control and most dwell, the Fat Boy still does beat it, and we call this a control paddle, right? So not too big of a surprise there, but if you're looking for even more control, even more dwell, this guy does provide that.
While we're there, let's talk about maneuverability. Right? Because yes, if you're looking for something extremely sweet as far as control and spin, this is really nice.
Yes, the sweet spot was massive on that.
Where this takes off, it's so fast in your hand.
I was gonna say, yes, this shape in particular, I remember the Loco also had this characteristic, again, being that like same shape. It is very quick at the net. If you get into a hands battle, this gives you your best chances. I
Yes.
mean, it swings just as fast as like any of the top paddles you could imagine in a hands battle on the market.
Yep. So very easy. I mean, I think very controllable, very maneuverable. Let's go and talk about power.
Yes.
Because remember the Filth, sorry, we don't have that paddle right now with us, and I would say next then the Shogun are very power-oriented, hard-hitting paddles. Mind you, the thing about the Filth was, and where this improved on the Filth, it's a very heavy, head-heavy,
the Filth,
high swing kind of a paddle.
Yes.
When this came, that was like a great upgrade to that because it lowered that swing weight. You still have that, power, but it was swingable. This has taken it one more step lower. But how does that power relate to those two?
Yeah, so going with just starting from the baseline, if I were to hit full drives, the Filth and Shogun are relatively comparable. I think I was getting maybe a hair more on the Filth just because of that weight, but the Shogun got pretty close to it. And overall, this probably is the better paddle between the two. But comparing it to the Invader, again, this was definitely like a notch or two less from there. And then once we got to just the pop alone, I think that was pretty comparable. The pop was comparable, but if you're doing like a full-on swing, definitely a few notches less on the Invader compared to the Shogun or the Filth. But it definitely did offer a bit more power than the Fat Boy. So we've talked about some of our initial thoughts on this paddle. Let's see what some of our friends had to say on the court. So let's join Matt and Juiced.
So since you have the Invader in the hand, this is the first time all of us got to play with it. What are your thoughts about it, initial impressions, and then just compare it with some of the bread and butter that you have in your hand?
So what I really liked about this paddle is right off the bat, I felt like the length was good. So I had good control over it, very solid on contact, kind of like the control of the Fat Boy, but more of like the Shogun swing when you want the power. So I really like this paddle.
Oh, what I liked about this paddle, first of all, the design is on point. It has a really unique and I've never seen anything like it out there so far. It hits with power when you want it to hit it with power. I tested it with my spin and I loved it. It was able to create a lot of spin both on the serve and also on my dinks. And I think it's an overall good paddle. It compares very similarly to me to the Shogun, and that's the one that I use currently. And the only thing that's different is that it has more of a rounded curvature at the top.
And the elongated part you mentioned on the Shogun as well.
Oh, yes. And I love the elongated paddle, so yeah.
Okay, so let's specifically talk to you about, because you use bread and butter. It's one of your prime paddles. Shogun is your prime paddle. You had the Filth, you went to the Shogun. Let's touch a little bit on maneuverability. How does that compare with these? Control and then power.
I think, like I said, it plays for me very similar to the Shogun. I think power-wise, it has the power. It looks like it has the titanium weave as well. It's my first time laying eyes on it. And I think the power, the resets, everything is it plays very similar to me with this. And I like this paddle a lot. So it's very nice.
So concluding, again, phenomenal paddle.
Yes.
Very easy to take and get adapted to. Easy swing weight, so you're kind of getting the package. Yes, you're giving away a little bit of power, but I feel where you're gaining is that control, you're gaining on that maneuverability. So, what happens is sometimes when you have a very heavy paddle, when you play a long time, you hurt, your body hurts, whereas this,
very easy on your body.
Very easy on your arm. How can we get it a little bit cheaper, Ryan?
Yeah, if you want a discount on this paddle, make sure to use Juice code. We appreciate him coming to the video, and he's actually a bread and butter ambassador. So make sure to use his code on the screen for an even further discount.
As always, we love helping people find paddles that work for them. This has definitely invaded the pickleball space.
Yes.
So if you want to try it out, reach out to us in the Rochester area. Please subscribe, please comment. We love hearing from you. Hope to see you in another paddle review.